All right, guys. Good evening. Hi, Lila. Good evening. Okay, so if you're just joining already, please drop a message in the chats. Let's know that we have people listening already. Please go ahead and drop a message in the community channels, right? On Telegram, on Discord. Invite your friends that are meant to be here so we can start. Yeah, so we can start already. All right. Yes, good evening. Good evening, Kelvin. Good evening, Mercy. Okay, so we're waiting for others. Let's see. Okay, all right. So as soon as we have more people joining, probably by 8:08, or I would say maybe 10 minutes, we would kickstart this session. All right. Okay, so we're starting in about I would say 2 minutes time. Okay, so while we're also waiting for others to join, if you have questions from the previous class, do well to drop those questions in the chat so that we can take them before the class, kicks off officially. Okay, so if you have any questions, I see some people dropping messages in my DM. Uh, yeah, I mean, feel free to drop your questions in the chat here so that we can all attend to them. Okay, others would, get that opportunity to learn, from your questions. Okay, so yeah, learn to drop those questions. Feel free. We're simply learning together. Okay, so let's have that conversation. Yeah, I mean, you can also ask questions within the community channels. All right, I think there's a product management topic on Telegram, right? And we also have, a private product management group on Discord. All right. So if you're not there, if you're on Discord and you can't see the product management, learning track, I think you can just use the bot command that we shared the other day, right? Where you put exclamation track, right? And then you can select product management from the options that you have. Okay. So if you are on, let's see, Discord. If you're on Discord right now, you will see that command. I'm going to share it again. Check the general channel. Okay, check the general channel, and you will see. Yeah, if any of the mods is on Discord right now, you can help me out here. Okay. By the way, I'm still waiting for questions. If you have any questions from the previous class, drop that question in the chat so that we can attend to it. All right, let's see. General channel. Okay, so I'm dropping that command here, track. So you see the Comrade bot is basically sharing with us different learning tracks. So you can simply click on product management. Okay, so if you click on product management, it will give you the permission to see the product management track. So you would see it on the left side, right? And you can simply click on the room. That will take you straight into the product management room. Okay, so yeah, you can check that out. We're going to kick off already. Okay. All right, so guys, give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, so let me take that question. I think my PC actually froze. So yeah, just give me about 2 minutes. But I'm going to take a question that I'm seeing in the chat here. We need every material for each session. I think the materials are actually shared. That's from Salva, right? The materials are actually shared with you. There's a Notion file that was shared with you, a Notion link that was shared with you. So it's right there. If you can't find it, I think someone can share it here. I think it's on Telegram, right? If you're not on Telegram, then you have to be there. So I even pointed out the material again. All right. So let me do that again. Yeah, it's right there in the chat. So there's a Telegram, there's a Notion link right there. I think who posted this? That was from Natasha. Okay, so I'm pointing out the here. I'm just going to say here. All right. So if you check Telegram and you click on it, you'll see all the materials are shared in that particular link. Okay. So maybe you want to check again and confirm if you can see it. All right. Yeah, the link is meant to be public, and everyone should have access to the link. So if you don't have access to it, you can let us know. But I'm sure you should have access to it, except you're not on Telegram. And I think that link was also shared on Discord, right? So yeah, if you're on Telegram or Discord, you should see it. What we're going to be looking at today is customer development. Okay, so I don't know, Notion. Yeah, still trying to resolve this.
The edge of the world, fight the mighty horde that bashes and breaks you and brings you to
If you're just starting out in product management, or if you have already been into product management for quite some time, at some point you will, or you might have gotten to see people, build products based on assumptions, right? They just get to discuss with, customers. They don't gather enough information, and they jump into product development, believing that they understand, the customer's needs, even when they've not been in, such a scenario that the customer is painting him or herself to have been in, or not use, or they don't even need. And at the end of the day, you've wasted the time of your teammates, you've wasted the time of the company, and of course you've wasted a lot of money put into developing. You've wasted a lot of money and time put into development of that product. So that is where customer development comes in. All right. So customer development is an essential part of product management. It ensures that you're building a product that customers truly need, want, and are willing to pay for. This process focuses on validating assumptions, identifying customer problems early, reducing the risk of building products that won't succeed within your organization. All right, so let's try to understand what customer development is exactly. So customer development is actually a systematic approach to understanding customer needs, validating the business idea behind that solution, and also developing solutions that actually solve real problems that these customers face. It's part of the lean startup methodology, which emphasizes building products based on validated learning rather than assumptions. Now, of course, when building products, assumptions would always come in, right? Assumptions are important as well, but your assumptions should always be validated before putting that into your sprint backlog. It makes sense that you organize sessions where you get to discuss with customers, you get to ask a lot of questions, and of course, this can be in form of having virtual meetings or even one-on-one engagements with the customers to at least understand exactly what their problem is and how they would even love to experience using a solution, whether it's an existing solution or is a new one that is going to be built purposefully to solve the problem they're experiencing. Now, some of the key objectives of customer development would include identifying the customer's pain points and unmet needs, testing and validating assumptions about the customer's behavior, developing a solution that aligns customer expectations and the market demands, and to avoid wasting time and resources on products or features customers don't need. So here are the 4 stages of customer development. The first stage would be customer discovery, which would involve identifying the target customers and also validating whether the problem exists or not. The second stage would be customer validation, which is to test whether the product idea resonates with the customer and validating the business model, especially because of the solution that you are trying to create to solve that problem. The third stage would be customer creation, creating and implementing strategies to acquire and grow the customer base. And the fourth stage is company building, which involves scaling the business based on validated insights from the previous stages. All right, so let's paint a simple scenario here. So let's imagine you're working on a language learning application for teenagers. You assume that gamification would keep the teenagers engaged while getting to use the solution. And during the customer discovery stage, you conduct interviews and learn that while gamification matters, students care more about the progress tracking, right? They care more about tracking their progress and also getting to show them a reward application of what they are learning. You refine the product idea and you focus on the aspects in the next phase, just to ensure that the final solution that you bring into the market is adopted by the target audience that you've actually interviewed, that you've met with during product development. All right, so let's talk about designing and running these experiments. It's actually critical to run these experiments so that you don't end up spending lots and lots of time building products only to realize that some of your assumptions will not work. I mean, most times when you build products based on assumptions, that's what you end up doing. All right. So in customer development, experiments are essential to validate assumptions and test whether the proposed solution addresses real customer needs. A well-designed experiment ensures that decisions are based on evidence rather than intuition. All right, so here are some steps to design and run experiments. First, you have to define the hypothesis. You have to formulate a hypothesis that you want to test. A good hypothesis is specific and measurable. So here's an example. If we introduce push notification into our fitness app, user engagement will increase by 20% in 30 days. Now, this is a good example because you've been able to place a scale and the outcome, and of course you are able to also place a duration, right, by the time you run this experiment. Now, the next thing you have to do is to identify key metrics, right? So you have to determine the metrics that would help you evaluate the experiment's success or failure. So for example, we have to track daily active users, the click-through rates, or the churn rates to measure user engagement. Next, you have to select an experiment method. Okay, so depending on the nature of the hypothesis, you can choose from A/B testing, which is simply to compare two variations of the features to see which performs better, or you go with a landing page test, which is to create a landing page to test if the users are interested in your product idea, or you can go the route of customer interviews, which is to gather qualitative insights by interviewing potential users, or even prototyping, which is to develop a low fidelity prototype and to basically share and observe how customers interact with them. All right, so the next thing here will be to run the experiment. So you have to execute the experiment while controlling variables to get reliable results. You have to ensure that you collect data throughout the process, and finally you have to analyze the result and learn from your analysis. So after the experiment, you have to analyze the data to determine whether the hypothesis was validated or disapproved, and then you have to use the insights that you've gathered from the experiment to refine the product idea or adjust your strategy if need be. Okay, so we're painting another scenario here. So let's say you're building a habit tracking app, and you want to test if the users are more likely to engage with the daily reminder feature. You can create two versions, maybe one with the reminder and one without the reminder. So after 30 days, you then analyze the result, and you probably discover that users with the reminders log their activities 40% more often. Then you can decide to implement reminders as a core feature, because based on the experiments that you've conducted, you've realized that that is exactly what the users want. All right, so let's talk about conceptualizing this solution. So once you understand the customer's problem and you've validated the assumptions through experiments, the next step, of course, would be to conceptualize the solution. Now, this process would involve turning the insight you've gathered into a product concept that addresses the identified needs. Here are some steps to conceptualize the solution. So first, you have to summarize the customer insights, which means you have to gather all insights from your experiments, the interviews, and the data analysis. You have to identify the key problems that need to be solved. So for example, in a survey for a freelance management tool that you're building, users report struggling with tracking multiple project deadlines. So for example, let's assume you are building a freelance management tool, and you've decided to conduct a survey for this tool. From your survey, you found out that users are reporting to track multiple project deadlines. Now, of course, you can decide to identify this as a core problem to solve, because it's obvious that a lot of users are finding this difficult. It shows that you probably don't even have existing solutions that do all this. It makes sense to have conducted some research to see if there are existing applications or solutions that can do this, and or a better way to allow the users track multiple project deadlines while including additional features that you've also realized might be core problems based on your findings. Next, you have to define the product's value proposition. So the value propositions clearly explains how your product will solve the customer's problem and why it's better than the alternatives in the market. All right, so here's an example value proposition. Let's say we build a particular app which is for this freelance management tool. We say our app simplifies project management for freelancers by providing intuitive deadline tracking and automated reminders, ensuring they never miss a task. Now, that is a good value proposition if you're building a solution to actually help freelancers manage their time and projects. All right, next you have to create user personas. Now, these are things that designers have already identified as some of the valuable things to have, and it makes sense for product managers to also learn and work with these frameworks as well. All right, so you learn to create user personas. You develop detailed user personas to represent your target audience, and these personas should include the demographic information, the behaviors and the motivations, and also the pain points, right, of those users. Okay, so here are some example personas that we've mapped out for you in the material, so you can take a look at it. You see, you have the name, you have the pain point. We have Sarah, who is 26 years old, a freelance designer. The pain point states that she struggles to keep track of multiple client deadlines, and the motivation states that Sarah wants an easy way to manage projects without complex tools. All right, Next thing you have to do is to map the user journey. This is very critical as well, right? Mapping the user journey is, you trying to build, a flow, create a flow of what the ideal solution would look like. Of course, this will be helpful for the designers, the developers, as well as the architects working with you on the project. So you're able to visualize, how the users would interact with the product, identify the key steps they will take to achieve their goals, from onboarding to using the core features that you've defined already. So here's an example. Here's an example user journey for a task management application. So you can say step 1, users will create an account and set up the project. Step 2, the users would add tasks with deadlines and assign them to the projects. And step 3, the app will send automated reminders for the approaching deadlines. Step 4, the users will complete tasks and track progress in the dashboard. All right. After identifying this user journey by simply, mapping out these journeys, the next thing you want to do will be to create a prototype. So you have to develop a low fidelity prototype or wireframe to visualize the product concept. Prototyping helps you gather early feedback before investing heavily in development. So here's an example. Say you design a prototype for the fitness tracker app that allows users to log workouts and receive performance summaries. You share the prototypes with the users and you are able to gather feedback on the usability and the features. This would definitely help you gather a lot of information, right, regarding this product even before you start actual development, right, to avoid wasting a lot of time, developing something that the users are unable to use at the end of the day. Prototyping would help you create something very lightweight, that the users can interact with. So for example, you design a prototype for a fitness tracker application that allows users to log workouts and receive performance summaries. You can then proceed to share the prototype with potential users, so you can then gather feedback on usability and features, of course without investing heavily in building the real thing, right? This would be lightweight, and of course there are tools out there that would help you create prototypes that look very realistic these days. So it makes sense to invest in those tools and learn to use them to create this prototype, so you don't end up investing so much time and effort and money into building products that ends up becoming a waste. All right, so next you have to align with business goals. Now ensure that the product concept aligns with the company's broader business goals, right? A good solution not only addresses customer needs but also supports the organization's strategic objective. So for example, you have a habit tracking application, and the primary goal is to retain users and increase engagement. You align the product strategy by prioritizing the features that encourage daily use and long-term habits, which will eventually drive retention metrics for the business. All right, so we paint another scenario here. So imagine you're working on an e-learning application, an e-learning platform, and then through customer interviews, you get to discover that students want more interactive elements like quizzes and flashcards. What you then proceed to do is you conceptualize a feature that allows students to create personalized quiz and share them with your classmates. What you would then do would be to design a prototype and test it with a small group of students, right? When you receive those positive feedbacks, you then decide to include the feature in the next product release, and then you are aligned with the company's goal of increasing students' engagement. But at the same time, you didn't just jump into building that feature. You first made sure that you've tested it with the students and at least a number of students, and then you saw the positive feedback from that small group. So you did not waste any time or investment building a product that the users would eventually hit. At least you've done something that they need, obviously from the feedback you've received from the little prototype that you've actually put out there. So wrapping up, customer development is a critical process for ensuring that your products address real user needs and aligns with the market demands. So this would involve understanding customer development through identifying those pain points we've mentioned earlier, right? Some of the major problems that they're having that they need solutions for, validating the assumptions that you have, and also building solutions based on the real insights or feedbacks you've gathered from those interviews or questionnaires you've put out there. And next, you proceed to design and run those experiments. You have to test those ideas. You have to make data-driven decisions. It's very important when it comes to building products. And finally, you have to conceptualize the solution by transforming those insights into actionable product concepts, ensuring that they align with both the user's needs and the business goals.
Of humanity.
All right. So, I mean, I believe, we might have some questions. Let me see. I think this music is already becoming too loud. Okay, guys. Yeah, we wanted to keep the session short, right? The materials have been shared, and of course, we can always, review. We can always come back to ask questions. We want to make sure that the sessions are not as long as they used to be, right? Instead of having 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes session teaching you the same thing, we try to keep it short as 10, 15, 20 minutes, if possible, right? So that we don't take too much time on the call here. It's just 8:30 p.m. So if you actually have questions based on what you've learned now, and you probably prefer to, ask now, or yeah, I mean, some people would also prefer to go over the materials first before, coming with their questions. So feel free to always drop those questions on Telegram and on Discord, right? Um, yeah, and of course, it's response, okay? So just in case you don't get response immediately, you don't have to uh, you don't have to flare up. All right, so you'll be answered. Okay, all right. I think the attendance was shared already. Please do well to fill the attendance form. Right. If you have any questions, let me give us 2 minutes to drop our questions in the chat. Okay, so I also noticed some people joined late, right? You can always go over the recording, right? Or probably wait till the material is shared with you on Telegram. Okay, the attendance is very important. Remember, we've mentioned before, at the end of the training, we're going to have a project phase, and only those that meet, the requirement, which is mostly the number of times you participated in the live session, right? And we get to know that. We'll get those information through the attendance form you fill. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all. I can't see any questions coming in, so I'll see you guys next week. Do well to practice, do well to read, right? Read up the materials. Yeah, and I'll be expecting your questions. All right, thanks for joining. Amaka, I don't know if you have any additional announcements.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Yeah, goodbye.